Hello. At the start of the 19th century, the United States was just a young, new country, but on the cusp of a period of dramatic growth and expansion in both national and international interests. A key element in the ability to participate on the world stage was having a standing navy with the capability to support and sustain American interests abroad, as well as project power around the regions of the world in support of those interests. At this same time, the British Empire was at its height of supremacy, with interests, outposts, and colonies around the world. The Royal Navy, as the supreme naval force at the time, made this empire possible through its ability to support and defend the British interests around the globe. The American Navy, by comparison, was still in an infant stage at this time. British journalist and naval author Gerard Fiennes wrote, "Security and prosperity rest upon the power to use the sea." By the end of the 19th century, the United States was a colonial world power, and in the first decade of the 20th century, the Great White Fleet of 4 American steel battleships circumnavigated the globe, the first event of its kind, as a symbol of American power projection capability. How did the United States Navy develop and grow the operational and institutional maturity during the 19th century to become an instrument of military, diplomatic, and economic power in this period of expansion for America as an emerging world power? The focus of this dissertation is to explore the origins of American naval doctrine and maritime strategy in the 19th century through an operational and institutional comparison of the navies of Great Britain and the United States. Early historiography and the development of the U.S. Navy provides valuable background information on naval capabilities and operational experience, but were mainly chronological histories or studies of individual persons. Classic naval theorists like Mahan, Corbett, and Collum wrote on the importance of the role of sea power has on a nation's ability to successfully develop and carry out meaningful foreign policy, commerce, and national defense. 20th century naval historians like Dudley, Crawford, and the Sprouts wrote on the capability development of the U.S. Navy in the early and modern era and how it helped shape American diplomatic and defense strategy. There are many excellent narrative histories and naval intellectual histories of both the American and British Navy to tell the operational story of each. However, the area that does not appear to be adequately represented in the body of historiography on this subject is explaining how the American Navy learned, grew, and achieved operational and intellectual maturity like that demonstrated by the Royal Navy in the 19th century. The principal value of the early works is to identify early capability, strengths, and weaknesses in the naval force of America and establish a starting point for moving forward. One key work, Essay on the Necessity of Improving Our National Forces by William Tone in 1819, provides a military analysis of the War of 1812 and the issues that arose on national defense in the wake of the conflict. He identified the shortfalls within the Navy as an important weakness in American national defense and presented thoughts on the establishment of a permanent and capable naval force. Is this when the ideas for American naval doctrine began and maritime strategy began? To learn more about this, one must begin by exploring the operational records of the U.S. Navy and the Royal Navy in the wars of the 19th century, along with their role in support of maritime commerce around the world and the anti-slave trade patrols and American diplomatic efforts around the globe. Other areas include researching the development of institutional education and training for both navies. The objective here is to examine how the compared schools of maritime thought defined the role of naval forces as an element of power projection in the 1800s and leading into the 20th century. Part of that exploration should include examining if and how the establishment of the U.S. Naval Academy in 1845 and the U.S. Naval War College in 1884 were instrumental in the development of U.S. naval doctrine. During the final decade of the 19th century and first decade of the 20th, the prominent works by Mahan, Collum, and Corbett came onto the scene to influence this dialogue. Mahan's The Influence of Sea Power Upon History, published in 1890, was instrumental in how nations viewed the importance of control of the sea in changing global policy. Column's work, Naval Warfare, Its Ruling Principles and Practice, Historically Treated, published in 1891, discusses the importance of sea power in maintaining Britain's colonial empire. Corbett's Some Principles on Maritime Strategy, published in 1911, refined the ideas presented by Mahan and Cullum and was one of the first to write of what became known as the operational art of naval strategy and tactics. In summary, through exploration and examination of these sources and many others, it is the objective of this dissertation to discover the origins of American naval doctrine and maritime strategy in the 19th century through an operational and institutional comparison of the navies of Great Britain and the United States. As a result of this effort, it is expected to add to the overall body of knowledge on the history of the U.S. Navy and how it developed and grew the operational and institutional maturity to become an instrument of American military, diplomatic, and economic power in the 19th century. Thank you.